That's actually sort of interesting. That could be a really wild-shaped head and shoulders on the weekly.
Yeah.
Again, I have to map that one out. You see, I get all excited about technical chart patterns.
Yes, you do.
As I'm sipping my Ripple.
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Welcome to another episode of the Money Path Podcast with your hosts, Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. Today's What and the Why is sponsored by MotiveWave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your 14-day free trial. So let's join Bob and Mike with a casual conversation of news and the markets.
Very cool. All right, then.
Well, you know why it's the YouTube's doing so well?
Why?
Is because of high quality crypto content. When you eat, drink, and sleep cryptocurrency, and you put all that content in your YouTube channel, then you know what? It just attracts it attracts the best. Because I'll give you an example. I am now eating, sleeping, and drinking cryptocurrencies. Last night, fell asleep to the song "Ripple" by the Grateful Dead. Right now, I am sipping a latte I made for myself. You know what product? I did not use milk. You know what product I used?
Did you use?
Ripple, which is nutritious pea milk. I am using Ripple in my latte as my milk substitute, which is nutritious pea milk. P, not P-E-E, P-E-A. I don't know how they get the milk out of the peas, but they do. And I also am eating my Greek yogurt alternative by Ripple. So I'm eating, drinking, and
non-dairy Greek yogurt.
Yes, it does. You can go to ripplefoods.com and see their products, but it's actually quite tasty. So I am eating, drinking, and sleeping.
How much sugar's in that?
Huh?
How much sugar's in that?
Well, I get the sugar, the non-sugar one. You can have the sugar. It's 0.
Okay.
That's the one I do. Because I do the 8 grams of plant-based protein per serving, 0 sugar in the Ripple Unsweetened, which is one I use, 50% more calcium than milk, 32 milligrams of DHA omega-3s, vitamin D, and iron. That's why I am so healthy, and being able to eat, drink, and sleep cryptocurrencies, the content is so good.
That's the funniest thing you've ever... Yeah, that's the funniest thing you've ever said on the show.
What do you mean? How's that humorous?
Since you're eating, drinking, and having sex with cryptocurrencies, what is it true? The rumor that Goldman is getting involved with Circle?
Supposedly.
Where was that story?
I think it was on Bloomberg or something. Circle International, cryptocurrency-focused financial services firm backed by Goldman Sachs, announces buying the crypto exchange Poloniex, quote, a move that immediately makes Circle one of the largest and most influential companies in the industry, and also gives the crypto space a much-needed seal of approval and validation from none other than Goldman Sachs.
Mm-hmm.
So, it looks like Goldman is getting into the crypto space a little more. I don't know if they're eating, drinking, and sleeping with cryptos yet, but, they...
Some people would say that Ripple is not crypto because it's big bank.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a cryptocurrency.
It's the first one I think to really go. I mean,
I couldn't find a product. I couldn't find a product called Monero to eat or drink. Or
I'm gonna look right. Is there like a Monero's pizza somewhere?
Maybe
that sounds like it might be a thing.
Let's see. Monero Pizza.
I found Monroe's Pizza. Monero Mining Benchmarks, miner.pizza.com.
Well, there's no Monero. There's a Monero Pizza Day.
Well, that's it. I'm doing a pizza-based cryptocurrency.
We should just start naming our cryptocurrencies after different foods, and then we could literally we could go all in. So we could have the burger coin, we could have pizza coin, we could have tequila coin,
Pico de Gallo coin.
What was that last one?
Pico de Gallo.
Pico de Gallo coin. You need those with the taco coin.
But couldn't you then do Cinco de Mayo coin?
Chipotle coin, which is going straight down.
What is Chipotle doing?
Chipotle coin.
Chipotle. That's how they're going to turn it around.
They turn into a blockchain only thing.
Well, the SEC is really cracking down on that, as we talked about last night, and they're looking into Overstock now. Cryptocurrency firms, because Overstock did they're doing their pre-sales of their ICO. I looked into it, and it's legitimate. I mean,
What is Overstock's?
Overstock, and what they're doing, they're setting up whole crypto exchanges. They're setting up a whole cryptocurrency that they're doing an ICO, but it's not a money grab. It's actually their president or CEO really completely is all in on cryptocurrencies, and has been for years. But SEC's now, they announced that SEC is probing their ICO, which is funny because it's one of the legitimate ones in my mind. And maybe they should look at some of the other ones, like what was it?
Long Island blockchain.
Well, even some of these other cryptos like that don't even have a white paper. They're just doing a money grab.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out.
What was that one white paper where it was just like big words at the end?
What about where it was just the models? Like it was.
Yeah. What was it called? Like hot chick coin or something?
Hot chick coin.
Something like that.
Oh boy! So Overstock though took a big hit. That came out yesterday. Overstock.
That's a buy when the charts tell us.
That was that dropped from, let's see. Well, it's been dropping for a couple, but this week it's down. Let's see, when that came out and announced. I don't know, because they have their whole business isn't just. They do have their whole retail.
What's the stock symbol?
OSTK, but it did run up substantially at the end of last year because they are actually legitimately doing stuff in the crypto space, but I think it ran up a little too much, and now.
It's funny. You look at the chart, it gapped lower, but finished higher than the open. Like it's a green candle in their chart yesterday.
Yeah. What did also
and today so far?
I'm looking at the week. Did that? I don't think that eked out the a pattern for a double. We've had a lot of doubles on the brain recently.
Oh, I think it's just short of it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Didn't even notice that. Yeah, it is. It is just short, so it would not have qualified for a double on the weekly pattern.
You know what eked out a double? We now have a confirmed double on the daily dollar index, although it is not triggered. And it's against the 50-day, so it's a little lower probability. But it might be triggered. I actually think now that I look at it again, it is triggered.
Can we use trigger on the podcast, or is that
Trigger will not trigger.
Trigger will not trigger. I'm just joking with that, by the way.
Peak of double was on February 8th. That high was 90.56.7. And 3 days ago, we had a close of 90.65.5. So it's triggered as well on the dollar index. Target of somewhere around 92.
Which dollar index are you looking at? Are you looking at this?
I'm looking at on Thinkorswim. It's $DXY. So USD index cash.
Yeah. Okay. DXY. Oh, there it is. That one, because they changed it on. They changed it. Oh. That is pretty.
Yeah.
So
and I
let's see,
believe that area to the left is right around 75, I think. I don't have it measured out because I'm looking at it on my app on my phone, so I don't have it measured out on that.
What was your question?
I think that flat area to the left is right around the 75 extension target.
Well, let me see. It also formed a double within a double.
Did it?
Look at that left hand. It actually formed. I've seen a number of those recently. Doubles within doubles.
Let's see. Oh, okay. I feel you.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that flat area. The 100 is just above that flat area, and the 75 extension, which would lead us to a target of 92.16, is just before that flat area.
All right, so I do something.
That's a nice target.
Yeah. What's that level? 92 what?
92.16, so we'll just call it 92.
All right, and what's the level of the 75? 91.68 or so?
No, that was the 75.
Sorry. Oh, that is the 75. Okay. Yeah.
75 is 92.16, but I like to round.
Okay.
So, yeah. And let's see about that other double, the mini double we had triggered. Where did that go? Oh, that went straight to the 75 before it formed the other downward, the right-hand side. It went. Yeah. So that one triggered, went straight to the 75, and then came back to create the right-hand leg of the double bottom that just triggered now.
There you go.
All this exciting. We got doubles everywhere. Even on our channel this week, we had doubles. We don't need no stinking doubles. So what else is going on in the world? So that was the cryptos. What are cryptos? Bitcoin was back up above 11,000.
Fell short of 12,000.
I haven't.
Overnight, it fell short. The high overnight was 11,889 on Bitfinex.
And look at our next level on the GAN level was 11,171. And what was the high last night?
11,889.
Oh, we hit another one. Oh, yep. Well, it's tough. It's tough being us.
It's tough being. Everybody needs to remember, even though there's like a 600 and something point difference there, our targets are where we're expecting the market to go through.
A 600 point difference. There was not a 600 point. 11,171. The high was 11,189. So that was a 18 point difference.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I said 11,889. It was 11,189. I misspoke.
Yes.
But again, even if it trickles through something, even if it were to go through 600 points, we have targets where a target creates an action for us. Yeah. So whether that means reducing the position, exiting the position, tightening your stop loss up, whatever it is, a target is a place. So we want the market to hit our target. It's almost uncomfortable if it hits it to the tick or to the pip, whatever you want to call it in Bitcoin. If it gets it to the exact point, that's a little uncomfortable. Because then if our plan is to exit it, it's not guaranteed that you can. I'd rather it goes through our target a bit.
Right. We have hit in a number of different cryptos. This is why those GAN levels are so wonderful. We've actually hit within 50 cents to $1 multiple times within the last couple months. It's like, it's too close. It's like, oh, crap. We were too right. Tough problem to have. Tough problem to have these days.
Oh man.
So yeah, that's what's going on. What else? I don't even know. So we talked about overstock and firms targeting the SEC probe.
You have something Bitcoin versus regulators. Who will win?
That's what I was just looking at, the Bitcoin versus regulators. Well, again, it just depends how much regulation they put in place, but the SEC's already been responsible. Their cyber enforcement unit, last week it said at least a dozen companies have put their offerings on hold after the agencies raised questions. Many of the cryptocurrency-related subpoenas were issued in recent weeks. Mm-hmm. Likely paving way for lawyers and industry insiders expect to be a dramatic upturn in enforcement activity. So they are looking at it more and more.
My question is, what are they enforcing at this point? So I saw that story, and I'm like, okay, I don't know of any specific rules and regs that are directed at cryptos or ICOs. Having said that, if they classify it as an SEC-regulated security, then all the things that go with every other security that's regulated by the SEC would go with the ICO, and I think that's a little unfair. Having said that, some of the other countries are getting more lenient. I don't know if you saw those couple of stories. Like, for example, a court in Moscow yesterday ruled that a debtor could not seize the assets of the Bitcoin assets of somebody that owed them money. They said it's not classified as money by the Russian courts, and therefore it's not in the purview to be seized. They took this guy to court to try and get his cryptocurrency wallet password, and the court said, no, he doesn't have to give it to you, which was super interesting and is super bullish to me for cryptos. Now, that's Moscow. Germany, the German court ruled that Bitcoin transactions are not taxable. Now, that story I don't really understand, because they said it's consistent with the EU court describing cryptocurrencies as a viable means of transacting. So they don't recognize it as money, but they recognize it as something that can be transacted. But as of right now, Germany says they're not going to tax Bitcoin transactions. So if you're an intermediary and you're receiving Bitcoin from one person, transferring it to another, and you make a few ticks on that, in Germany, you're not going to be taxed, which again, to me, is slightly bullish for cryptocurrencies. That Russian news especially, because if other courts were to rule the same way, boy, you'd see a lot of people moving capital into crypto.
Wouldn't businesses? I mean, especially in Germany, wouldn't if you're a German business, wouldn't you start seeing if you could do all your, like, especially business-to-business transactions in cryptos?
You would think.
You could then, okay, we don't have to pay any taxes on it.
I know, and it's again one of these things, like, they didn't fully as I read the story, I'm like, something is wrong in this story. So I read it on a site called Cointelegraph, right? And it basically says that the German federal authority published its decision to not subject purchases with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to taxes, citing the European Court's 2015 decision, which sets a precedent for all members of the European Union. The court justified its taxing decision by stating that it considers cryptocurrency as a legal means of payment. So then the exact quote is, so-called virtual currencies, cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, are considered equal to the legal means of payment as long as these so-called virtual currencies have been accepted as alternative and contractual means of payment by the party involved in the transaction and have no other purpose than being used as a means of payment. So I think, I'm not 100% solid on what I think here, but I think that what that means is, as long as they don't then convert it into a currency, it's fine. It's not taxable. So if they eventually, like, if you're a company that accepts all the Bitcoin and you go to convert it into euros, then it becomes taxable, is the way I read it. But how they decide the conversion rate and, like, where the gain was earned, that I don't know. It's an interesting decision. To me, it's very bullish for cryptos in general, especially because it's Germany. The Russia one, okay, whatever. You know, not a lot of us are going to run to St. Petersburg to hide from the tax man, but or to hide from a debtor. But I don't know. I mean, the German one is a big deal to me because you would expect most of the European Union to follow suit.
I do wonder how that would be ruled, because that ruling will have to come up eventually in this country too. Because all right, I'm just going to take all my assets, roll it into a digitally encrypted wallet, and then declare bankruptcy. And if
so the IRS considers your cryptocurrencies an asset similar to real estate. So, but I don't know that they have the final say in whether it's taxable or not. I don't know how that law works. I don't know if they are.
Well, I'm not even talking about taxable. I'm talking about if you have to turn it over. Yeah,
I assume if it's taxable, it's retrievable by a debtor, but I don't know.
Well, again, because you have Homestead Act, so it could. I mean,
yeah, there you go.
I'm wondering if it'll eventually, even in certain states, fall into possibly a Homestead Act where, then the trick is you just move that state, roll all your assets into a cryptocurrency in your digital wallet, and there you go. This
just reminds me of Ireland dropping their corporate tax rate and all these companies doing inversions to move their headquarters to Ireland. That's what the German thing reminds me of, to where all these companies, if they're smart, will decide to move their Bitcoin accounts receivable departments to Germany. No, they'll just hold a bunch of cryptocurrencies in Germany. Yeah, we don't have any taxable income this year. Sorry.
It's all in cryptos. Although you'd want to probably choose you'd want to choose a very stable crypto.
Yeah,
I don't think you want one that's like 19,000 one day and 3 weeks later 7,000. That would probably drive your accounting team crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, we're Bitcoin billionaires. Oh crap, we're not. we lost all our profits. Oh wait, they're back. Oh, they're gone.
They're back. We're rich. We're broke. And it's gone.
Exactly. And it's gone. That's why what do you do when you hit the key levels? You move your stops or takes them off the table.
Wow. So I've decided to start a company that builds plastic cars, so I'm not subject to tariffs.
Huh?
I've decided to start a company.
Oh, you're not going to. No, there's no steel cars. Or no steel or
aluminum. Plastic only.
Why don't you just go to fiberglass?
There you go, fiberglass only. All car prices are going to go up except for the Corvette.
The old 70s Corvette. The old 70s Corvette is safe. There you go. You heard it now. Go buy your 70s Corvettes. Oh, so what do you think? What do you think? Because that's making big news with the tariffs and the trade wars and everything else.
The tariff is my why, but I could talk about it a little bit.
Well, we can save it for your why. I mean, I don't want to save it for the why.
We can save it for the why.
Because Stavrid's got something to talk about.
With the tariffs?
No, he's got something to talk about with Apple.
What do you got with Apple?
He's got stuff in the notes about Apple.
Yeah, there are two Apple stories. One of them is Apple is going to store their iCloud keys, and usually on a Macintosh, all your passwords are contained in the iCloud, right? So it's not just, your mail or your calendar here. We're talking about every password for every website that you use on a Mac. They're gonna store some of those encrypted keys in China.
Whoa.
And so here's,
are you kidding me?
No, here's what some professor says at some cryptography professor. He says, once the keys are there, they can't necessarily pull those out of the keys because the server could be seized by the Chinese government.
Christ.
Now, just to show how smart Apple is at multiple levels, high respect. Steve Jobs, before he passed away, he made sure that he could get this new campus built. That's the big circle, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Pentagon, except
it's a circle. It's kind of like the Pentagon, except it's a circle.
It's the same sort of secret activity, right? But it's a circle. Yeah. Here's the problem. Employees are walking into all the glass walls because the whole thing's glass all over on the inside. And so they're walking into walls and breaking their noses and hurting themselves. So the employees are protecting each other by putting up Post-it notes on the glass walls, so you don't accidentally smash your face into this wall. And then management's coming by and taking all the Post-it notes off because, that's wrecking the design.
Can't they put like those little birds? How is this? Isn't this getting a lot of birds then too?
We haven't heard that.
But think about it. Birds fly into windows all the time anyways. And now this is essentially a big circular window that's huge. And there's greenery in the middle. So they guarantee there's birds. And if people are walking into the walls, I guarantee the birds are flying into it. Is that the next thing to break? It's going to be like the animal rights people are going to be like, tear the campus down.
Steve Jobs was a notorious prankster. He and Wozniak, when they were young, before they started Apple, they did a few pranks in their day. And this was probably Steve's ultimate prank before passing on, saying, look, I've got my company, I got my employees, I'm making a dent in the universe, and now my walls are going to make a dent in their faces.
Wow. That is something.
Now, they're not walking the walls because their heads like down their phone texting or something, and then they look up and that's like a double whammy. So we'll have to keep following that. We also have some electric and self-driving car news. Hey, Stafford, did you see, I sent you the link yesterday for the Jaguar announcement?
Yeah, I didn't.
You have to watch it. First of all, it's hysterical.
What car is this?
They launched the I-Pace, the new all-electric Jaguar.
Wow, the car itself
and the launch event was absolutely fantastic. There was so much humor in it, and then they had it drag race from 0 to 60 to 0. First, they had a drag race a 75D Model X, and then the guy who's racing that, he's like got beat, and so he's like, I want the 100. So they brought out the 100 and still beat it, and he's like, well, I didn't get the version, with the full, the full all-wheel drive. This is where the rear-wheel drives, and the guy who beat him goes, well, if you want that version, that's fine, but then you could buy 2 of these Jaguars for the same cost as, because they're half the price of the top-of-the-line Model X. So. Yeah. He's like, fine, if you're going to buy that, I'm just going to have 2 of these. But the humor in it, if anybody wants a really good laugh for a car launch that's just funny, there's a bit in there where they're showing how they're doing an analogy with filling the cells, and they have all these buckets, and they're using this fire hose to fill these buckets, and they're talking about there's just so many innuendos in that, where if your hose is too high up, you're going to spill, and you're not going to get it into the bucket, and watch it because it's a fantastic launch event. They were poking fun at Tesla the whole time, but even at the end of it, he goes, I'm starting to sound like Jeremy Clarkson. So I guarantee he had something to play, because it was that kind of humor in there. But it's worth an hour of your time to watch.
Oh, it's an hour.
And then all the Tesla fanboys were all over it saying, not fair, Jaguar is, why are you going after the Model X? You should be going after polluting cars. Don't try to get your competition from the Model X. You should be going after polluting cars, those bad polluting cars. Don't pick on Tesla. They all had a cow. It was fantastic. I loved it. Because this is direct competition. And I think, and then the Audi's coming out this summer, then the Mercedes coming out the fall, and then the Porsche's coming out early winter with all their electric cars. So. But we also now you watch the Consumer Reports initial drive, Stafford? You sent me that link.
I watched both of them. They did the sit-down roundtable on it, too.
I haven't seen the sit-down roundtable yet, but what bugs me about some of these things is they keep citing it's a $35,000 car, and there is no $35,000 version anywhere close to it, and that's going to be, if they ever release it, going to be different than the $59,000 car everyone's testing now.
This is the death of Tesla.
What, the Model 3?
No, all this stuff. I mean, like the Jaguar, and then the what's the other one? The Porsches. What is Porsche's called? Porsche's coming out with the I can't remember the name of it. It's driving me crazy.
You mean Porsche, the car company that's investing in blockchain?
Yeah, Porsche blockchain. Anyway, they're coming out with something. I don't remember the name of the car they're coming out with, but they say that it'll go 300 miles as well, and it can also hold its top speed for long periods of time, unlike ludicrous mode. Basically everybody targeting Elon.
Because that's the big problem with all the Teslas that they've tried to run them on a Nuremberg circle, and I'm not even talking ludicrous mode. I'm talking what happens when you keep their cells under full power for an extended period of time. It goes into degraded mode to prevent the cells from degrading.
They can't cool the batteries. If you're on the Nürburgring and you're running all out, you can't cool them fast enough. So the whole thing goes into limp mode about 30% into the course.
Right. Here's the comment. Porsche bragged that its Mission E sports car can hit top speeds for, open quotes, long periods, close quotes, sidestepping the ludicrous mode limitation of Musk's rides.
Type in Porsche blockchain.
Doing that right now.
Well, we were doing that. By the way, also did their pros and cons. They tested a Model 3. So their pros were quick off the line and far more nimble than the S and X, make it a joy to drive. Minimum EV range of 220 miles. Well, they were testing the extended battery pack because you can't get the limited one. Outstanding voice control and I like this. Lots of tech OTA updates will fix things. Maybe. That's a pro. I don't want to have my car constantly fixed. But cons, too many controls pushed to touchscreen. This is a silly screen in the middle that you have to do everything with. Needs more hardware buttons. Well, that's not just a simple OTA fix. And OTA means something you could download over the air. Only long-range version is currently available, and no dash cluster behind the steering wheel. So pretty much, I've seen very few even of these tech things that like that single touch screen in the middle and consider it safe. That's going to And like I was saying, it needs more buttons because Tesla's already like, all right, because everybody's complaining that you can only adjust the windshield wipers from the touch screen besides doing little burst mode. So like, all right, we'll figure out a way to reprogram one of the buttons so you can turn off and on the wipers more easily from one of the buttons. The problem is they're running out of buttons to reprogram because there's not enough buttons. So unless you're going to have, if you triple click on this button, if you double click, if you 4-click, if you rotate it clockwise, that's what it's going to turn down to. And it's going to be this, you're never going to remember like your 18,000 swipe patterns to get your Tesla to operate. And it is fine for people who like geeks, and I say that in a good way, and tech nerds and everybody else who, if I could do this, I can do this, I could do this. But if I were to put my wife in a Tesla Model 3, she'd last about 2 minutes before she's like, I hate this thing. Where's my buttons? Why do I have to? I hate the touchscreen. She hates the touchscreen in every car we have. She's like, I just want a button to turn it on and off with. I don't want to have to touch the screen to do everything. So this thing, the only way, I can't see a lot of women going, I just love this touch screen.
That's a little male privilege there, Michael.
I know, I'm being male privileged. But Automobile, why am I saying that wrong? Someone say that word for me, please.
Automobile
manufacturer Porsche is exploring blockchain apps in its vehicle in cooperation with the Berlin-based startup Zane. Cointelegraph auf Deutsche reported yesterday. In their press release, published February 22nd, Porsche stated that the company is the first automobile manufacturer to implement and successfully test blockchain in a car. Possible applications for blockchain technology range from locking and opening doors via an app with the possibility for temporary access authorization for deliveries to new and improved business models through encrypted data logging.
Who would have thought that Porsche would be the next company to start putting blockchain in their name?
Before Elon, I would have never thought it.
I never thought it.
Never.
Yeah, it's open season on Tesla at this point.
It really is.
It really is. So this will be fun to watch.
Yeah, the next 6 to 8 months for Tesla is going to be very difficult. I don't particularly think this is getting taken out of the stock price yet. There's still that whole Tesla fanboy thing. It's off 3 of the last 4 days. It's up today. But yeah, it took a hit over the last 3 days, and it's got to be these things.
Yeah, but it ran up the last 2 weeks. I mean, it ran to its our prior double top highs, or double bottom highs. It's still in this massive double top pattern though. Still not invalidated. We also had that big double bottom pattern in the S&P that did trigger. Now it's pulled back. It is not stopped out though yet. Mm-hmm. I put up a video on our YouTube channel highlighting that with what the stop levels are. But we've pulled back substantially in the last, we don't know how today's going to end up, but this is 4 straight days down. And we had Powell he had his written remarks, then he went in front of Congress and Senate, and anything from that, Bob?
Yeah, the market took that as being extremely hawkish, and obviously we went lower, but I don't necessarily agree. Powell is known as being straightforward, and essentially he was posed a question, and I'm going to paraphrase the whole thing, but he was posed a question as to whether the Fed could get more aggressive, and his answer was that I'm confident in the economy and inflation, and his answer was essentially taken to mean we're more likely to come off of 3 rate hikes and go to 4 than we are to come off of 3 and go to 2. And that really was kind of the whole thing. He also used the word overheating, which is never a good word in connection with inflation. Nobody likes that word. So essentially, his commentary was looked at as hawkish. Now, one thing about him is, again, he's known to be more straightforward. He is not an economist. He comes from a policy background, like where he worked at the Bipartisan Policy Institute, and he comes from private equity. So he's a business guy, and I think his I don't want to say his vow, but his statement that he was going to work on the Fed's communication, which I think is one of the successes of Janet Yellen, was how well the Fed communicated what they were going to do, and then actually doing it. I think that was one of Janet Yellen's great successes. Powell's talked about improving on that. So you definitely, the market took it that way. But 10-year notes then backed off. We went from 285 on the yield to 292.5, and then we backed off all the way to 280 as of yesterday. I don't know where we are today. So I think the market kind of overdid it. In my opinion, he basically net said we're data dependent, which is exactly what Yellen said. So that's to me how it was. The pre-written comments could have been written by Yellen. They were that similar. It was just a Q&A where he was a little bit more straightforward.
He also stressed in his Q&As, he really stressed that growing national debt is reason for concerns, and that the U.S. is not on a sustainable fiscal path, but needs to get on one.
Yeah, again, pretty much echoing the last 3 Fed chairs with that.
Yep.
I mean, that's been something they've said essentially forever.
So he's on the same playbook.
Yeah, he is. He's just more blunt.
So are we going to get 3 or 4 this year?
I still think it's going to be 3. I think the data's mixed enough, although it is leaning stronger lately. But I think it's mixed enough that we're probably going to stay at 3. That'd be my guess. Especially if we have a trade war. It's going to stay at 3. That would be the thing where it would go to 2. So that would be what would cause us to go to 2.
What about Bank of Japan?
Bank of Japan is talking about removing accommodation in 2019. Last night, they had their jobless number, and their jobless number came out down, I think it was 3 or 4 tenths, but that's not the thing. It's 2.4%. That's the lowest in almost 25 years for their jobless rate. So Kuroda actually came out today and said we're anticipating removing accommodation in 2019. That is the most aggressive thing they've said in 4 frickin' ever. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's like them saying we're burning the place down. I mean, that is aggressive. And you saw the reaction in the dollar yen, which the dollar's off more than 0.5% versus the yen. So I mean, the reaction is there.
Yeah, that was pretty. I mean, that sent a lot of people into a tizzy.
Yeah,
they're like,
we're still only at 83% probability, according to the CME Fed Watch tool, that they're even going to go in March.
Really? I thought we'd be higher than that.
I did too. I mean, the market talks and acts as if it's a done deal, and I think it is a done deal, but it's not priced that way yet. And we are in March. We are in the month of March, so.
Yes, we are. Well, we're recording this on what, March 2nd?
Mm-hmm.
So, but what's going on real quick? We don't need a huge dissertation, but what is going on with crude? It's lucky it hit that full double top pattern and then plummeted. Yeah. This is why you take action. You don't just keep going, it's going up. You take your profits at the targets.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of things hit crude over the last couple of days. We had draws in both the API and the EIA. My comment on TD Ameritrade's network on Wednesday, was that I thought it would go to about 61.50 and then rally from there. It's gone lower than that. It's gone to 60.13 today on WTI. My point is that like the seasonality is the strongest factor. The other things are just kind of like noise in the background right now. We don't have any sort of massive fundamental change for crude except the possibility of a trade war, which would damage crude oil significantly because it would damage global economic activity. So that's about it, really. I mean, to me, it's hit support now, and it's probably a buy down here, although I wouldn't buy it on a Friday.
And I don't have a pattern yet. So there's it's now back below the rotation zone is crossed against it also, and it's even below the 50 on the daily.
Yeah, and we could see a lot lower of a move if that dollar index double bottom rather takes off towards target.
Yeah, and it's back into the rotation zone on the weekly. Now the bottom of if we see a close below, it'll put in a pretty decent topping pattern if we see a close below about 59 I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So what you alluded that you had a why.
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gannon ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
Yes. So President Donald Trump and his administration announced the intention to levy a 25% tariff on imports of steel and a 10% tariff on imports of aluminum. And the markets, the equity markets got hit over the last few days as people start to scream trade war. I wanted to comment in a non-political way as to how dumb this sell-off is, at least in its early stages. To me, yeah, a trade war is certainly bad. But if all that happens is, this to me is classic President Trump saying something as sort of a parry to the market, sort of an initial thrust and then a parry, trying to get people to snap out of it. 2.2% of the steel that comes directly from China into the U.S. It's only 2.2% of U.S. steel supply. However, they go through a lot of intermediaries, like they ship steel here from Korea. They go through Korea into here. They go to a certain degree through Canada into here. There's a lot of Chinese steel that comes into the U.S., hence the whole dumping thing. If the only thing that were to happen was a 25% levy on steel prices, you're seeing people say things like automobile prices are going to go up. My just back of the napkin calculation showed that on a $36,000 car that would raise the price about $280. Just because of the amount of steel, the cost of steel currently 25. If it were a full 25% increase on steel, which it would only be on the imported steel, it wouldn't be on all the steel. Now, it could be slightly higher than that, could be slightly lower than that. I did not do a calculation for aluminum. Somebody from the Trump administration, whose name I don't remember currently, said it would be a 0.44% automobile price increase. This is a red herring. This is nothing, this particular thing. And this is, short of not having a pattern, which I believe we don't, this particular dip, driven by the thought of a trade war, which I don't believe will happen, is a dip to buy in the equities, in my opinion. Simply because he's done this on several other subjects in order to show people he's serious. And then people come to the table and it changes. One of the things that's being talked about is that this is sort of an assist on the NAFTA talks, to where, Canada has already said they will retaliate. Well, a ton of steel comes in the U.S. from Canada. Canada will get an exemption even if the tariffs hit, because we have too good of a relationship with Canada back and forth. So all of this talk about this being trade war, global economy, here's the key. Emerging markets have not moved much at all. Emerging markets are the most hurt by a global trade war, and that particular market has not moved. When that market starts to move, then that might be a canary in the coal mine. But currently, this is all just people getting nervous over headlines, and it is, to me, a silly reason to sell. That's my why.
Fantastic. You know what? I didn't have a what, now I do.
Oh, what is it?
It's that potential head and shoulders and crude on a weekly basis.
Love it.
I just mapped it out, and if we get the close below the neckline, which is a moving target, I'll probably have to do a video on YouTube at some point with this just to show. But we need a close below the neckline before it would trigger. Right now, as of if it were to trigger, it won't trigger this week. It would have to be below about 58.70. Next week, it would be about below 59, let's call it. So I'm basing it off of next week. If it closed on a weekly basis below 59, the full target on that is $50.03.
Perfect.
So we'd return to the $50 level, and it would then have also closed below the rotation zone on the weekly basis, so that would be out of the way. So we will have to monitor this. It's not triggered yet, so it's not saying crude is going back to 50, but we'll have to see if it does trigger, and that's my what.
Beautiful.
Because I looked at a crude chart, which I had not looked at in a couple days since that double bottom finished.
All right, great.
So that's about all I have.
And that's about all I have. This is Bob Iacchino. Thanks for having me again, guys.
And this is Mike Arnold, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye for now.